morning, YouTube. Welcome to another episode of Exploring Genetics. We haven't done one of these in a while. We've been pretty busy, but I had a topic today that I've been thinking about a lot and I wanted to go over. Today, in this exploration of genetics, we're going to talk about the banana gene in ball pythons. Now, I warn you right now, some of you will not be interested in this. And not only because it might be something that you've already looked into and you already know a lot about the banana gene, but also because I'm going to be talking about some little bit deeper genetic concepts here. So I apologize if this isn't interesting to some of you, but hopefully to some of you it will be. The banana gene works differently than any gene we have come across yet in ball pythons, or really in the reptile hobby. It is an incomplete dominant trait, so its heterozygous form, or what we would call, a regular banana, looks pretty much like this. This actually is also green pastel, so it looks a little different than a typical banana, but this is the banana coloring mostly, the black spots all over it. The homozygous form, or what the hobby calls the super, is a little bit lighter colored and doesn't have the black spots. It looks a little different. So generally speaking, when the homozygous form is a more intense version of the heterozygous form, it's going to be an incomplete dominant trait. So up till there, we're straightforward. Most genes in ball pythons are incomplete dominant. The weird thing about ball pythons or about bananas, as most of you have heard, is that they do not pass on the banana gene as you would expect. Females do. Females, half their babies are going to be male and half of them are going to be female, and half their babies are going to get banana and half their babies aren't going to get banana if it's a heterozygous or a regular banana. If the female is a super banana or a homozygous banana, all her babies will be banana. So with males, if he's a super banana, all his babies will also be banana. However, if he is a heterozygous or regular banana, he is only going to pass on the banana trait, for the most part, about 90% of the time, to the sex that he got his banana gene from. So if the male banana got his banana trait from his dad, then he is only going to pass on the banana trait to his male offspring, for the most part. If you have a male banana who got his banana trait from his mom, then he's only going to pass on the banana trait to his female offspring. This is weird. This is not a regular genetic occurrence. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this today, because it's been talked about a lot, I promise you, is because it has bothered me to no end how many people say, oh, it must be a sex-linked trait. No, it's not. Not in the traditional sense, at the very least. So now here's where we're going to get a little deep. Ball pythons are probably XY chromosomes we're talking about, XY determinate. So the X and Y chromosomes determine what gender they're going to be, right? Just like we are. Now, for a long time, it was assumed that all reptiles were ZW, the Z and W chromosomes that determined their sex. However, fairly recent studies have shown that it's, at least in the boids and the pythons, they are XY. One of the reasons for that is that in the rare cases of parthenogenesis, where a female who was never bred she becomes gravid and has eggs, all of those offspring are female like her. If she were a ZW, they would probably not, that would probably not be the case. That's not what you would expect. But if it's an XY sex determinate animal, that is what you would expect. Now, why is that? So, there's a lot we could go into here. We don't need to get into all of it. But the X chromosome, as most of you know, is the big one, right? And all people, and seems likely all ball pythons, have an X. Only males have a Y chromosome. Females are 2 X's, right? And the Y chromosome is tiny. There's not very many genes on there. So in a sex-linked trait, you would think that the trait you're looking at would either be on the Y chromosome, in which case only males could have it, which in the banana gene we know that's not the case, or if it was on the X chromosome, a male is going to show it anytime he gets it because he only has one X. So if his X has it, even if it were typically a recessive trait, which this one's not, it's incomplete dominant, but even if it were recessive, if he got it on his X, he would show it because he only has one X, right? And a female would either have it on one of her X's or both. So the fact that a male can either be a regular banana or a super banana says to me it's not on the X chromosome because it would only have one version. Does that make sense? There would only be either a regular or a super looking banana in males, and that's not the case. Regular bananas have been produced in the male version, and super bananas have as well. So there's only one X to work with here. It can't be that, and it can't be on the Y because we also have female bananas. So I just wanted to make it clear to you, in that sense at least, it is not a sex-linked trait. Something else far stranger is going on here. Now, because of the ratios, where, you know, like if you have a male banana who is a male maker, as they call it, meaning that most of his offspring that get banana are going to be male. However, a few of them aren't. Some of them are female. Like 10% I've heard, even 5%. Now that to me sounds like there is some sort of crossing over event happening. So try and remember back to your high school biology. You have most of your cells have two full sets of chromosomes, right? One from your mom, one from your dad. However, the sex cells, the sperm or the egg cell, only have one set, right? All of the autosomes, which in humans we have 22 of those, and then one either X or Y chromosome. And crossing over just means the part of the process where some genes literally cross over. Not all of them, certainly not even most of them, but some genes cross over. And occasionally you get, a small number of offspring that might show a trait that wasn't expected. Now, I'm kind of generalizing. Some of this isn't exactly how it works. I don't want to get too crazy here. But the fact that a male maker ball python occasionally still does throw a female tells me that there very likely is some sort of crossing over event happening. So somewhere there is an actual strange genetic occurrence happening with ball pythons. And the people who are claiming that it is a sex-linked trait, I don't think that they have a good grasp of what a sex-linked trait is. That's not correct. Again, here's our male, and he's going to have I believe this is a male maker, so most of his male offspring are going to be banana, and his female offspring are going to be normals. Now let me pull out a female, just for fun, because might as well show off more snakes. Here's a female. Again, she's not only banana, she's also a cinnamon, so she doesn't look exactly like a regular banana. But she ought to produce whenever she produces, because she doesn't look like she's going to this year. But she ought to produce a regular, expected 50% male, 50% female. Half her babies get banana, half of them don't, but it doesn't matter what the sex is. They're going to be about 50-50 split, statistically speaking. So, again, there's never been a theory about the banana gene and how it works that I have felt like really makes sense scientifically. There's been all sorts of theories out there. But so far, nothing that I have understood to be correct. Now, I have a professor that I took a bunch of genetics classes from years back that I'm going to contact, and I'm going to ask her if she can think of anything that would explain this strange phenomenon in ball python genetics. I don't know if she'll, she's a very, very busy lady, but of anyone I know, she would be the one to ask. So I'm going to hopefully have a theory here for you guys at some point. But again, I've never heard one that really makes sense with what I understand of genetics, which certainly isn't everything. I'm not a geneticist, but I think that it's an oversimplification and straight up incorrect to say, oh, it's just a sex-linked trait, because that's not how sex-linked traits work. Color blindness, red-green color blindness in people, that's a sex-linked trait, right? And it's on the X chromosome, which is why a man is much more likely than a woman to be colorblind, because if we get it on our only X chromosome, we're going to be colorblind. But it's recessive, so a woman would have to get it on both of her X chromosomes in order to actually be colorblind, right? She could be heterozygous, or a het, if you will, for all you reptile people, for color blindness, but she's not going to actually be colorblind physically unless she got it on both X chromosomes. So that's a sex-linked trait. It's not complicated. That's just how it works. And there's some diseases that are sex-linked and things like that. But regardless, this right here, this beautifulness, not a sex-linked trait. Okay. So I hope that made sense. I know I got a little bit vague because I didn't want to dive too deep into some of these concepts, and but yeah, that's where we're at. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, or if you have heard a theory that makes more sense, please let me know. This has always been of interest to me. I really enjoy learning more about genetics, so please let me know if you've heard something that makes sense to you about how this might work. I think for our next episode, I might talk about something that's not ball pythons when we do our next genetics episode. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you for watching. And until next time, you've been watching Exploring Genetics with the Reptile Barn.